Okay, so I guess I got a...
Your end of things on the campaign.
I guess I got an 80 on this. Let's see what he said.
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna be a quick little video I'm doing it, so I just want to get like a quick news source.
What did I do wrong?
Bring us up to speed.
And it's the same person who helped organize things to contact TV stations and was talking about a possible watchdog group if the initiative did pass. So he's had good ideas. As for the community, I'm afraid I don't have a solid plan for that as of yet, other than it's being sorted out. A lot of people are helping with that. Yeah, in fact, I'm not even in direct control of the website, so it may be outdated for a few days while the person who does maintain it is working on it.
Get some more information on this horrific killing.
I'm pessimistic on how much we can do beyond the action we've already put into play, but I'm of course in favor of people continuing to stop killing games-related things if they want. Speaking of related things, I've received a lot of questions about the...
Okay, truth is an absolute defense to the defamation claim. Yes, I know that.
I'm not an expert on that, but I can talk about how it relates to us.
No, Henry was not standing up when Johnny went after him with the knife.
They didn't do actual video, they just have it on their website.
If a storefront removed your game...
That's factually incorrect.
...selling games. That seems unreasonable and unrealistic. We're also not addressing Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal's grip on entire world commerce.
This guy sucks.
Stop killing with your life? I think that's my target audience.
This guy's a dick. Quantity is not going to work. Quality does. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna email this guy. Hey, what's wrong with
that?
Sir, I am disappointed in my grade once again. When the feedback you give about what the paper is lacking is part of the paper I handed in. This is an ongoing issue we are having where these grades are my lowest. I am getting in this class as I am averaging 19.4% on my quizzes and exams. I have CC others to help remedy this possibly in my last paper. You also criticize things that I definitely did have in my paper, and I quoted them back to you. Now I am doing it again because these criticisms don't make sense since I did include this information. Originally you said that these were substitutions for in-class participation, but this seems more like I'm in actual court with a hostile judge. I read your feedback and I don't understand my grade or how I can improve even if I was to resubmit the paper. Let's go over each because a lot of these criticisms you gave, because they actually in my paper. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Bold, mine will be italics and quotes from my paper will be in quotes. I mentioned this in my paper, here is the quotes. Johnny owed Henry some money from last week's football games. However, if this is not probably true and said in negligence on my list, then Johnny would be liable. Johnny was the only one acting like a mafia guy in this narrative scenario, but accused Henry of this verbally. Johnny 2 times may be liable for slander per se, for declaring Henry a loan shark, bookie and mob related to the many other patrons at the bar or flatties. Henry cannot hold the bar responsible for slipping, causing stabbing only if slip caused him to need ACL surgery. The bar owner has a duty to maintain a safe environment. If Henry slips and injures a third party, then the bar owner is also responsible for the injuries to the third party, because they would not have happened otherwise. The stabbing I was arguing about would not have happened otherwise, because it was a direct result of Johnny being injured by the chicken wings. You are not clear on this topic after you talk about ACL surgery. I don't know what you mean by that. It was a stretch to say the stabbing could also be the bar owner's fault, because it wouldn't have happened if Henry had not slipped. But also the bar owner assisted Johnny in avoiding the cops, which shows his intentions being nefarious in addition to being negligent. I think it is possible to bring it before
by adding to scenario won't really work. Probably no infliction of emotional distress until the non-firing gun, and then it is a stretch.
So when you stab someone that slipped and who is trying to flee, would that not be emotional distress, including with the spit in the face after injury? I totally disagree. It's not emotional, it's stress to threaten someone with a gun and fire it in their face, even unloaded. Totally disagree that it is a stretch. And you change your mind in later feedback. Also in the next feedback, you say probably, so you would have to consider adding to this scenario to find out intentions. Or other factors which is the same to adding to scenario as much as I do, such as claiming Henry is a violent individual, but showing he actually avoids starting fights as stated in the fact pattern. I stated this in my paper also. Wings are probably an accident, so no liability. 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 Okay, so it is okay to say probably and speculate on the motivations, because you're doing it here when you say probably. You should be using definitely if we can't add to the scenario. These are chicken wings that flew across the room to injure someone. I go over the only way that those wings could be intentional and be at fault for the injuries. Henry could have also staged the fall to look like an accident to avoid showing intentionality and being charged with battery on Johnny with chicken wings. Henry could also be charged with battery if his approach towards Johnny was so reckless that it was reckless to a point a reasonable person would find it to be so. Such as if he was running while drunk, Henry could have whittled those half-eaten chicken bones into little spears or arrows so that if they happened to fly in the air, they would cause severe lacerations. This could also be battery, as it could show intentionality. Henry was standing up when Johnny went after him with the knife. Assault! Battery when stabbed, did he see spit coming? Assault! First off, it is unclear if he was standing or not when stabbed, because all it says is he slipped and then tried to flee when he saw the knife but didn't have time. If he was stabbed in the back, that would show more likely he was fleeing while standing, but he was stabbed in the chest. If he saw the spit coming, even though it was in the face, he could have not seen it coming because he was just stabbed in the chest and closed his eyes or been looking at the knife stuck inside him. It could have happened really quick, but also it is unlikely to cause fear, but rather insult the person he just stabbed. You can't instill fear with spit once you just stab someone in the chest. I consider the spitting battery for these reasons, and it is easier to prove than assault in this case without video. To quote my paper, assault happened when Johnny brandished the knife over a fallen Henry who was trying to flee the threat. Johnny clearly committed battery twice. Once with the knife to the chest, and once with spitting on Henry after the stabbing. These are the torts you should have identified and described. Defamation may be slander, truth is an absolute defense. So if true, Henry can't win. I already said this, I don't get why you are mentioning this as if I didn't. To quote my paper once again, Johnny 2 times may be liable for slander per se, for declaring Henry a loan shark, bookie and mob related. true and said in negligence or malice, then Johnny would be liable. Negligence by Henry with wings, or maybe just an accidental slip and an accident. Maybe slipped as Bar had in mop the floor. I should have identified Henry being negligent with chicken wings. I actually did talk about the possibility of this, but that is so absurd. I said it was only if they were his wings he was eating, and he made those wing bones into sharp weapons. I did identify the slip. Also, you mentioned this earlier, saying that he needed to have an ACL injury in order to show injury, to hold the bar owner liable for negligence. Can you cite the law on that? Or explain?
Regarding the accidental slip by Henry also, to quote my paper, Henry could also be liable for negligence or breach of the duty of care for the chicken wings. Injuring Johnny, he could have been intoxicated, which would have contributed to his own fall that caused Johnny's injuries. Henry could have been wearing shoes he was told by his doctor not to wear. There is also the possibility of partial or contributory negligence for both Henry and the owner. Maybe slipped as Bar hadn't mopped the floor. To quote my paper, Johnny was injured by Henry's accidental slip. It could very well be due to negligence by the bar owner for not cleaning up spills in a timely manner from the bar floor, as the bar owner owes a duty of reasonable care to individuals on the premises. Johnny got knifed and went after Henry. When Henry saw Johnny coming with knife, assault as anticipates being stopped. When stopped, battery spit if seen before it hits Henry. Assault then battery when it hits Henry. To quote my paper again, assault happened when Johnny brandished the knife over a fallen Henry was trying to flee the threat. Johnny clearly committed battery twice. Once with the knife to the chest and once with spitting on Henry after the stabbing. Friend with gun, assault, maybe intentional infliction of emotional distress. Also now it is possible to be intentional infliction of emotional distress. Why are you telling me this? I stated this and you disagreed with it earlier in your feedback. I am a little frustrated. Quoting my paper, Johnny's unnamed friend is also liable for 2-ebe. An assault when they pointed the gun in Henry's face, who was helpless and injured at the time and pulled the trigger to intentionally cause emotional distress and threat of immediate harm. Johnny locked in back room. A false imprisonment. To quote my paper again, Johnny could claim false imprisonment and also sue the bar owner for 2-8 for not allowing him to get immediate medical care for his wounds, and also liable for negligence for his injuries by Tony. That happened after being released, and which would not have happened if not for the bar owner's reckless actions. This is possible gross negligence by the bar owner, keeping Johnny from the police. I don't see any motive for why the bar owner hid Johnny from the police, or what he was doing or had to gain from falsely imprisoning Johnny. So I mentioned that it could be a factor in his liability. Johnny sees the escalade coming. Assault when hit battery. To quote my paper again, Johnny was the victim of assault and battery with a deadly weapon by Henry's alleged friend, Tony, who turned around and sped up into Johnny with his vehicle as he was fleeing a crime scene. Johnny could hold Tony liable for his injuries and possible disability and emotional distress. This would hold strict liability for Tony, because Tony's actions showed his indifference for safety behind the wheel at the very least. While I didn't specifically define assault and battery each step of the way for the car, it was established many times in this document, and the car was very obvious and labeled as such. This is one reason why, after receiving back my paper for assignment number 2, I was worried that I might have missed spelling one assault or battery out completely. I didn't realize how specific and repetitive I needed to be until seeing assignment number 2's feedback. I thought from my statement of the facts that it was apparent. I know what assault and battery is and mentioned several times before this. You don't get credit for throwing it all against the wall to see what sticks. Quantity is not going to work, quality does. Actually, throwing it all against the wall was part of the assignment when you said discuss all the thoughts you find in this scenario and why I think it is that thought. Discuss all the thoughts you find in the scenario. What the thought is, why you think it is that thought means knowing the definitions. And who wins any lawsuit? When I talk about mitigating factors, that is part of who wins any lawsuit. It's not black and white, or else we would not need lawyers. I am not actually a lawyer, I have not gone through law school, and this is a bit much considering 99% of your criticism that you say is lacking is in my paper. And I don't think I am necessarily wrong in any of this. To quote the instructions for the assignment once again, this is an assignment on torts to see if you have a handle on what they are. Grammar and spelling is important as a format. I have given you a format. But Word has a number of different ones if you want to play. This assignment will be due on March 2. Is there an argument that I don't have a handle on torts?
發夢扎醒，都覺得對唔住自己。我由學堂出嚟嗰陣龍精虎猛，仲用過。